Welcome.
Yo, yo, yo. Week 11. We got
Woo!
fancy background for week 11.
So
Maybe
nice.
we'll do like a different background every week from now on. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Week 11. We have 14 games, which
Let's do it.
means there's 4 teams on bye. And we're doing this on a Wednesday for the first time, just to switch it up a little bit.
Why
So
not?
the first game is not tonight, it's tomorrow night.
Mhm.
And the participants are the Bengals and the Ravens, and they're going to play in Baltimore.
Hmm.
And I thought the Ravens would be favored by 5.5 points.
So I have the Ravens giving 3.
All right. 5.5 and 3. And it is. It opened at 4. And it is 4. There's a few 3.5s in there. Okay. Ravens 4. Josh gets that one.
Woo.
Okay, so what do we know about these two teams except that they both lost at home last week when they both were supposed to win at home last week?
Yeah.
Um,
Does the Bengals loss say more about the Texans or the Bengals?
Definitely the Texans,
Yeah.
because the Texans beat the Bucks the week before on that last second drive.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time, but like rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, young guys in those positions,
Mhm.
you could easily go into Cincinnati like just kind of being okay with what just happened, kind of coming off that emotional high of that last second victory and just kind of getting stomped because it's a tough spot, right?
Yeah.
But they went in there and they controlled the whole game. Like they were ahead the whole game, which means they were in my mind, that means they were mentally focused and like they had a good game plan and like they executed after that high they were coming off of the week before. So that's how I see it. Like I said, I mean, a lot of teams in that spot would just kind of roll over.
Yeah.
So that's my perspective on that. So as far as this game goes, Ravens and Bengals. So I went 5.5. I thought it would be a little higher than it was. Still seems like a pretty fair line. The Ravens were up by 2 touchdowns against the Browns, and they blew it. Kind of like the Ravens did last year. I've said that before. They had a few where they were up double digits in like the fourth quarter and they blew it. So I don't know if that's, I don't know, it was just a fluke, 1 week fluke type of thing or what. But I don't know. This one's a little tough. I guess maybe just don't make too much of it. I think the Ravens, you'd still say, are a little bit better.
Yeah.
So you give them 4 instead of 3. I thought it would be even higher just because of what the Ravens had done for a month and a half or 2 months before they just lost to the Browns. But
I think this line says more about Joe Burrow than it does anything else, honestly.
Like, what do you mean?
That the Bengals have had a rocky season, right? You thought that they beat the 49ers. You thought they were a team on the come, that they were going to be really good. And they get punched in the face by the Texans. And they kind of fall down to earth a little bit, and they didn't look to me as competent, right? As that, oh man, this is a Super Bowl team. When playing the Texans, I think this line, and it's as close as it is because people have faith in Joe Burrow as a quarterback. That's kind of what I read to it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nice.
I guess I lean Bengals on this just because it's more than 3, so you're getting some value.
Like to win outright or just to cover?
No, just to cover.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I always say this, but the line was lower than I thought, so I think there's something there.
Yeah.
To that side, so I just think the Bengals is the right side. And given all that we said about how the Texans controlled the game last week, the Bengals, well, Stroud threw a pick in his own, and like the game was basically over. There's like 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left, And then Stroud throws a pick. I didn't see the pick because I had turned it away, figuring that game was pretty much over. Throws a pick, and then the Bengals run it back to like the 4-yard line. And then how did that go? I think they score on that possession and they got the ball back. And so they were down 3 and they were driving and they were at like the 15-yard line, third down. So they're down 3. So a field goal ties it and they can hope for overtime, but a touchdown obviously would put them in great position to win. And Tyler Boyd runs a great route. He makes the D-back fall the wrong way, and then he just doesn't catch the ball. It goes right through his hands. So, I mean, that's not to say that the Texans couldn't have come down and scored a touchdown, but the Bengals would have been ahead by 4, and it would have been a tough ask, I guess. So yeah, I mean, the Bengals still could have won that game. Literally went right through his hands. Like he should have caught it. He'll catch that ball, 95 times out of 100. All right, so I think we've spent enough time on that one. But
I like the Ravens here. I know they lost to the Browns, but they're a big team. I still think they might be the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, that's fair. Definitely. And a good game. I mean, it's a good Thursday game.
Great. Way better than last week's.
Yeah. It's a good matchup. Yeah. Oh no, I wasn't saying that. I was just saying it's a good matchup for a Thursday, but again, on like a short week, it seems like things aren't always clicking.
Yeah. Oh, last week's was Panthers Bears, so way better game. Way better game. Skosh.
A skosh. All right. Josh gets that. He's up 1-0.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna stay in the same division, and we have the Steelers at the Browns. So I went Browns by 5.
And I went Browns by 6. And this line seems to be affected by the news from this morning, I feel like.
Yeah. And we'll get to that in just a second. So it opened at 4 and it's all the way down to 1.5.
Still favoring Cleveland, though.
Right. So
or I guess favoring the Steelers, but
okay. So Deshaun Watson is out for the year all of a sudden. Broken shoulder, or something like that.
Yeah.
So line was 4. He goes out. Now, I don't think anyone's going to argue with you that PJ Walker is as good of a quarterback as Deshaun Watson, but I don't think it's that grossly different, especially based on how they've played so far this year. Like Watson's been inconsistent.
Yeah.
So for this line to move 2.5 points seems like an overreaction a little bit. I mean, it should have moved maybe down to 3, maybe down, I don't know, maybe a little lower. It just seems like 2.5 points is a lot.
And think about Pittsburgh's quarterback situation. It just and the Browns still have the best defense in the league, right? In terms of offensive or passing game and running game. It's just Steelers offense is terrible. I don't care who's quarterbacking it right now. It's bad.
Right. Yeah, and that's a big reason kind of not to overreact too much. I mean,
I feel like.
So you remember last week I guessed the Steelers to be favored by 8 against the Packers, and it was 3, and that's like as far as I've been off on a line in quite a while. And I said, there's got to be something to that. Like the Packers has to be the right side. Well, it was close the whole game, and the Packers missed an extra point, which ended up being the difference. It would have landed right on the line. The Packers also had 2 opportunities to score. Granted, one of them was with like 30 seconds left, but they got inside the red zone both times. And Love threw a pick one time. Well, he might have thrown 2 picks. I don't know what happened, but that was just an example of it. Just seemed like the game was close the whole way. Like the Packers +3 seemed right, and it just ended like the Steelers ended up winning by 4. So I mean, underwhelming performance by the Steelers at home against the Packers, right? You kind of in a way squeak one out. So now you got to go to Cleveland. Cleveland, I believe Pittsburgh beat Cleveland in the first matchup between these two earlier in the year. It was the game where Watson kept face masking everyone when they were trying to tackle him. And then he was like in and out of the game, I think with like a injury or something. I don't know. I think you just trust Cleveland at home. I think they have a little bit more to play for here with the revenge factor. With hey, let's Watson's out for the year. Let's everyone else step up. Steelers offense, obviously Pickett and the offensive coordinator just seem like they're never like. Are you ever going to get 30 points out of Pittsburgh and they're just clicking like drive after drive? Like it just doesn't feel like that's ever going to happen.
2006.
Roethlisberger. I think the Browns is the right side.
Yeah.
Granted, PJ Walker against the pass rush of the Steelers.
That's a good defense.
I
mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's 3-6. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Could be. Yeah.
6-7.
I don't know. Speaking of 6-3. No. So last week, I think I said it just feels like this Browns Ravens game is going to come down to a field goal, and it did, but it shouldn't have. It was 14 they were down, and then all of a sudden it was like I looked and Cleveland won. What? So it did come down to that. I guess it doesn't matter how it gets there, but that was very much a backdoor cover win for the Browns last week. All right, let's go on. Game 3. We don't have a game in Germany. We don't have a game in France. There's nothing in England. I don't think they're playing anything in Argentina except for Taylor Swift concerts. So we're just going to do a Thursday game, and then we'll start at noon on Sunday. So that Steelers-Browns game is a noon game, and then the next one is also, you got the Raiders at the Dolphins. So
You got that one too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I got the last one. So we're tied 1-1. So now we go Raiders at Dolphins. I have Dolphins by 9.5.
I have the Dolphins giving 7.5.
Both went a little, kind of a large line, and I don't think either one of us went high enough. I think it's higher than
Whoa!
It opened
It
at
is.
13.
It's 12.5.
12. Yeah, we'll call it 12.5. So I get that one. We're both off by at least a field goal. So Raiders, they've won 2 in a row after they fired their coach. Dolphins are coming off a bye.
Yeah.
The Dolphins seem to score 30 on everyone. They're coming off a bye. They lost to the Chiefs in Germany the week before. The Raiders, I guess they've won 2 in a row. I forget who they beat 2 weeks ago, but if any of you watched the Sunday night game with Jets Raiders, you probably wish you didn't, and we told you not to watch it. I unfortunately did watch it. And it was just field goal, penalty, step out of bounds when there's no reason to step out of bounds before going into the end zone. Just ugly. I'm very glad the bar didn't have the sound on where I was at. It'd have been even more frustrating to listen to people talk about horrible football play. Anyway, so Dolphins off a bye, kind of looking for a get right win after losing to the Chiefs. The Raiders have won a couple games in a row, but
I don't know that. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't expect them to really light up the. Are they going to make the playoffs? I think they're 500 right now, but is that a playoff team? I don't know. Probably not, especially in the AFC. So I just think I get it why it's higher. The Dolphins can put a lot of points on you really fast. I don't know. I don't know what you like. I think you just take the Dolphins to cover, assuming that they're just going to come out and light you up. I don't think the Raiders defense is. They're maybe middle of the pack of the NFL, so I don't think the Dolphins are going to have a lot of trouble with them, especially with an extra week to prepare.
2 touchdowns feels right.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. We got the Bears fresh off their victory over the Panthers.
Fresh off a 4-game 2-2 sort of winning streak.
Oh,
They're that the culture in that building, right?
What a
Can you
ride.
even believe it? 2-2,
over the last month,
2-2.
they have won as many games as they've lost.
Wow, stellar.
And now they're going to Detroit to play those feisty Lions.
Yes,
And I have the Lions by 11.
I've got the Lions by 10.
Okay, let's see here. It opened at 10, and it's
Fell
down to 9.
9.
All right.
That has to be potential of Justin Fields coming back.
Okay, so I got the last one. Josh gets that one. We're both pretty much right on. I mean, it's close. It's more than a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's less than 2.
Yep.
So is Fields playing for sure?
Matt Eberflus doesn't know. He's not sure.
Does Ted Eberflus know?
Probably has a better idea than Matt Eberflus.
I don't even know that the line shifts a ton, whether Bagent or Fields plays. They're both kind of inconsistent, but somewhat serviceable. So it's 9. Maybe it's lower than what we thought. I mean, it's a division game. I did factor that in, but the Bears are still pretty terrible.
They're awful. I mean, you're celebrating wins against wounded teams, and you're pointing out the benefit of a 2-2 record when you're 6-17 or something. You're authoring the worst 2-year stretch of any Bears team ever. It's just dumb.
I mean, if your resume sucks, you still gotta put the best thing you got on your resume, right?
I guess. I mean, even if everybody else knows it's bullshit, maybe just be honest and say, we're not very good.
Yeah.
I guess you don't, but you don't sell yourself out like that. But I mean, this line feels fine. If it were higher, if it were 20, I'd probably be fine with that too, honestly.
On the Lions or what?
Yeah, the Lions were given 20, whatever that absurd Dallas line was last week. If I'd seen that here, it probably makes sense, but
yeah. So I don't have a strong opinion either way. When these lines get high, it just seems like the dog is the right side more often than not, even though it's hard because obviously the Lions are a much better team. Lions are coming back from a back and forth battle, and they ended up beating the Chargers kind of on a last second drive. And the Bears have a little extra time coming off the win against the Panthers, division game. You might get a little bit of a downer out of the Lions, or maybe they just don't come out clicking right away. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, I don't know that. How do you trust the Bears at all?
You don't.
Right.
So what did the Lions are 8-2? What the Lions are, or 7-3?
I think they've had their bye 7-2.
7-2. So I guess are the Lions a 15-2 team? I mean, I feel like this is Lions. I like the Lions a lot, but I feel like they've got 2 or 3 more losses in them.
Yeah. So yeah, they're 7-2. Yeah, I mean, so I'm a Vikings fan. Obviously, I've said that before, but I don't know. They have to play the Vikings twice. The Vikings are playing decent. I don't know that they're not going to sweep those two. No. Who else? Let's just spend a little time on this. Who else do the old Lions have on their schedule?
Got to play the Packers once, I think, and the Bears twice.
I need to figure out how to work a phone here. Decent.
So I think they have 5 division games.
Chicago, Green Bay, at the Saints, at Chicago, Denver, at Minnesota, at Dallas, against Minnesota. I think that's 2 or 3 more losses.
Yeah.
So they're whatever. Right. I mean, obviously, I still think they're going to win the division and maybe get 1 home game. I still think the Eagles and 49ers are going to finish with better records.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And I mean, maybe even the Cowboys, although the Cowboys have to play the Eagles one more time.
Mm-hmm. And the Lions. That'd be a good game.
Oh, yeah. That could determine
who gets
that.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Lots of good things for the Lions right now. The Bears, I don't know, just ignore them until they hire somebody competent.
Yeah.
At every level of their organization.
Yeah. three. So they got 3 wins. They win out, and they'll make the playoffs. So every week, 1-0, 1-0. Okay, enough about that. Let's go to. We have the Titans at the Jaguars. I have the Jags by 7.
I have the Jags giving 6.5.
All right, it's right around there. I know that. Opened at 6.5. We've got 4 7s and 3 6.5s. Whoa!
Yeah,
We couldn't be more.
Yeah,
we couldn't be closer as a duo than that. So I guess I get it since there's one more 7. If we would have done this 10 minutes ago, who knows? It could have been Josh could have had that one. So
yeah, close.
Jags at home feels like it should be higher than that, but then I went back to division game. It just seems like these games are closer than they should be. So I settled on a touchdown, and that's what it is.
Feels right.
Jags had a
Stinker.
3 points they scored off a bye against San Fran.
Bad.
And the Titans didn't do much against the Bucks. They kind of never really. I don't know that they ever led in that game. Maybe early in the game they did.
Will Levis did not score 4 touchdowns again. FYI, in case you were wondering.
And what's the Titans' record?
3-6,
3-6. We're getting to that point where you lose a couple in a row and you weren't doing so hot before that. You're kind of like, well, if we win out, we'll make the playoffs. So those sorts of things start factoring in here. I mean, I don't think the Titans have completely given up on the season yet, but
you got in a playoff team. I don't
6-3 versus 3-6. I don't know. Anything can happen in these division games. I guessed the line right on. I don't really have a strong opinion either way, one way or the other.
No, it feels like to take the Jags.
Yeah. Or maybe pick exact result.
There you go.
7.
Boom.
Okay, I'm up 3-2. Let's move on. Chargers at the Packers. I have the Chargers by 2.5.
I have the Chargers by 3.5.
All right.
3.
It opened at 3.5, and it's 3 across the board. So you got some people saying I like the Packers, and it basically settles on, well, for now anyway, it settles on a field goal. So we're gonna split that one. So that's a tie. 3-2 with a tie. So we were both very close. The Chargers obviously the better team. On the road, you just don't get crazy with it. It's a field goal. It's fair. I like the Chargers here. They just lost at home to the Lions, but were competitive.
Yeah, I did too.
It just seems like the Packers are just gonna dwindle into like well, I don't know how many wins they have, but
there's 3 wins, I think.
They're gonna end up at like 5 wins and
a fired coach and a new quarterback is what's gonna happen there.
What do you do at core? You got to give him another year, don't you? Or
No.
what do you do? No, really. Maybe I just haven't watched enough of their games to see how bad it is. I don't know.
If he's under contract, right? Like I don't think you let him go. But I don't think he's shown you enough. And this is Green Bay too, right? So you've had almost 30 years of like top tier quarterback play. I think more than anything, that's what would drive them the decision to move off Jordan Love. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Brett Favre. He's not Bart Starr. So
do you draft one or do you try to pick one up?
They're going to be in prime position from a draft standpoint. It'll probably be a top 10 pick. So I think so. I mean, he's been in the league. Jordan Love's. I mean, how many years did he sit back under Rodgers? He's like been in the league 5 years. Like I don't know that you're getting what you're getting with him.
Right.
Like it's not like you can go in 2 years. He's going to be super good.
So here's the argument for Jordan Love. So the Packers didn't even make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers last year, right? And their skill players are about the same, right? Like Dobbs and Watson and Aaron Jones and Dillon and
when did Devontae Adams go? When did he
was
to?
He wasn't there last year. Yeah.
Okay. Year before.
So I don't know. Like I think they have more problems than Love, but yeah, he's been underwhelming as well. So they've got a decision on their hands. It's not just
do.
oh, we had a
Yeah.
great quarterback for 30 years.
Yeah. You guys don't have a decision. Don't watch this game. This game, don't bet it.
It's only a 3 points. I mean, it could be competitive. You never know. Maybe I'll drive up to Lambeau and watch it. Take that win.
Enjoy.
All right. That's enough about that. We have the Cardinals at the Texans.
Yes.
And I have the Texans by 7.5.
Have them by 5.5.
You're gonna get that. What'd you say? 5?
5.5.
5.5. I went high. You're gonna get that one. Opened at 6 and it's down to 5.
Some places are 4.5. That's got to be a Kyler Murray.
Yeah. All right. So Josh gets that one. It's 3-3 with a tie. So okay, Kyler Murray's back. They just beat the Falcons.
He's doing Kyler Murray things, running around, completing passes,
So they
elusiveness.
beat I think it was the last second field goal. They won by 2, something like that. At home against the Falcons, right?
Mm.
So I guess, yeah, I mean, every win's a good win, but it ended about like I thought it would. So now you have Cardinals at the Texans. Like, the Texans the Texans are one of the hottest teams, it just seems like.
Yeah.
Like, why is this? The Cardinals are still pretty terrible. I mean, I get Kyler Murray gives you a chance with the way he plays, but why is this lower than a touchdown? Like, it does. I just don't get it.
I think that's it. I think we don't know what we're getting out of him yet. He's only been back one game, and he's doing Kyler Murray things. And I mean, Cliff Kingsbury was not a good coach. I never should have been hired in Arizona. But even when they were, and things are going well, like they were a playoff team probably just because of Kyler Murray. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
And CJ Stroud is emerging, but he's not yet Patrick Mahomes. If this is year 2 of CJ Stroud, this line's probably a little higher. And his performance continues like on that trajectory. I think this is higher.
Yeah, that's fair. So you're like I say this all the time. It's lower than I feel like it should be.
Yeah.
There's something there, whether it's just Kyler Murray or whether there's something else that I don't know. Some injuries in key spots that we're just not aware of. I think the Cardinals are going to cover that because it just seems too good to be true on the Texans side. So I think the Cards is the right side. That's my 2 cents.
Could be a fun game to watch.
That's true.
One to watch. Nothing else, CJ Stroud, but Kyler Murray is just always exciting. Right? I mean, you just never know what he's going to do. Coaches don't know. And that's kind of fun.
All right, let's
This
go
is
on.
dumb. Sorry. This next. I'm so flipping upset with this next line. So pissed. So effing pissed.
So we have the Cowboys at the Panthers, and I went Cowboys by 8.5.
Yeah, well, I went Cowboys by 20.
On the road?
It's the Panthers. They're terrible. Like, Bryce Young is awful. I feel bad for the guy. He's terrible. He is so bad. Like, he is just not good.
I'm sensing a theme here, but like his receivers, like Thielen runs routes good and catches a lot of balls because he gets open. His other receivers are just dog shit. Like,
yeah,
and he's got 2 tight ends, Tommy Tremble and Hayden Hurst. I don't know. Like, I don't think they're great. They don't seem to be able to run the ball very good. You've got Miles Sanders, who was supposed to be the top back, and now he just can't even beat out Chuba Hubbard. I don't know. There's something dysfunctional going on there. Yes. And I don't think it's all Bryce Young. It's hard to tell.
They're clearly like a tear down rebuild, right? And that's what they are. But the receivers are bad is a problem. But if your quarterback cannot put the ball where they can reach it, then it does not matter. And I'm telling like I've only watched them play the Bears, but I don't know that there was one pass that guy threw that was in 10 feet of a receiver. Like 9 times out of 10, the ball was somewhere over there. and the receiver was right here. That is his fault. Receiver can't make up for like errant balls. It's just they're not a good team. They're the worst team in the league. And then when they played the Giants, there was a 17-point line, and now stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem like well, obviously they hoped he'd be in a better spot at this point, but you still hear a lot of people saying, well, they put up a graphic on the Bears-Panthers game. They said, here's the last 5 quarterbacks to get drafted number 1 overall. All 5 of them, including Bryce Young, their first 6 or 7 games, no one had more than 1 win. It was Goff, Lawrence. I'm going to forget the other ones. There was 2 or 3 more with Bryce Young, and they were all
Mayfield, maybe. Is Baker number 1?
Yeah, I think it was him, and there was one other one, but they were all like 0-5, 0-6, 1-6 in their first 5, 6, 7 games, something like that. So, granted, it's got to get better from here, but they're saying it doesn't always come fast. Like you're not going to get a CJ Stroud
every time,
or
Tyson Bagent even, because he's 2-2 in his first 4 games. So
yeah,
super good. All that is true, but the Cowboys beat. Well, who did they play last week? They beat them by 20+ points, and that team wasn't.
The Giants. It was
49-26.
So they've beaten them by like 75 points total this
year. And the Giants are better than the Panthers.
With Tommy DeVito?
With that defense?
I can tell you this. Wow. Yeah, if those 2 teams played on a neutral field, the Panthers and Giants right now, it would be roughly a pick 'em, and I think the Panthers might be favored.
Well, let me ask you, are the Panthers scoring 26 points this weekend? Because that's what the Giants did. Or 29, whatever it was. Like they scored in the 20s.
The Giants did this.
Yeah, whoever the Cowboys played, because the Cowboys scored like 40 or something. Was it? Unless I'm thinking of the week prior.
It's
just always
49-17.
All right. So are the Panthers scoring 20 points this weekend? Because I'm sure the Cowboys can put up 49 on that defense.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll unpack it a little bit more after we get the line. So
sorry.
No worries. I went low. Josh went way high.
Yeah.
It's Cowboys 10.5.
This just doesn't get any sense. Make no sense to me. World hates Tommy DeVito, I guess, is what this line says. Because that's it.
Yeah. So I realize I'm a little bit crazy for doing this, but I'm in a winners pick'em contest, and I'm taking the Panthers to win this game as my lowest confidence point, just because it's a road game for the Cowboys, and I feel like, well, I know everyone in the league. I can tell you, everyone in the league. There might be one other person who picks the Panthers, but I don't think anyone else will pick the Panthers. So if everyone has Cowboys at 16 confidence points or 14 confidence points and they all miss and my high ones hit, I could win the week. Granted, yeah, I get it. It's the Panthers. Like, they're pretty terrible. But do you remember a couple weeks ago when the Panthers beat the Texans? The Panthers almost beat the Vikings. They pretty much had the Vikings, and then I think they turned it over. I don't know who else they were competitive with, but
the Bears.
The other thing, yeah, I mean, it's a road game in the NFL. I could just see this. Like, the Panthers were up 14-0 on the Dolphins, and then obviously the Dolphins offense took over. But I could just see Dak forcing some stuff, getting down by a score, maybe 2 scores, starting to force things. They don't run the ball like they should.
I mean, they lost to the I guess the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals early in the year without Kyler Murray. It's like out of the realm of possibility. But I just I don't know, man. The difference between the Panthers and the Cowboys, that's immaterial to me. This line's a bizarre line.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I mean, I'll say this: we might never see. I shouldn't say never. Things change a lot, but you're almost never, ever, ever going to see a road team favored by 20. I think I've only seen a team favored by 20 like once or twice in the last
last week.
who was favored by 20?
When the Cowboys like they weren't they
No, it was 16
was
and
it
it was 17.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, there you have it. I mean, if the Cowboys win by 30, then Josh is validated. If the Panthers keep it close, then maybe I was onto something. But the line is 10.5 on the road.
Take the Cowboys. Take the point.
All right. Okay. Next game, we got those lovely Giants. They're playing another football game. I'm not sure why, but they should cancel the season against Washington in Washington. I have the Commanders by 10.
I got it by 6.5.
Okay. It opened at 10 and it's down to 9.5 most places. I get that one. So I'm up 5-3. So there was a story that came out about, I don't know if this was a joke. I don't think it was a joke. So Tommy DeVito still lives at home and his parents make him all his meals and do all his laundry and all that.
I've been doing my own laundry since I was 10.
He doesn't seem like a very desperate athlete who is trying to be the best NFL quarterback that he can be by like
he's also making $250,000 this season. I don't know.
No,
That's the league minimum is like $700,000.
Oh, $750,000.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said $250,000.
No, like 750,000.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, they're bad.
He's bad. You're right. I mean, he's bad. He's terrible, and there's no faith. That coaching staff has no faith in him.
And they just have no. I don't know who else they have on like the practice squad, but do you not just promote someone and give them a couple starts and see what the hell? Like, you can find a unicorn. Like, Tom Brady wasn't supposed to be good. I'm not saying you have one of those crawling around on your practice squad, but
it just feels like
off
the street is
why would you give this guy another snap when he's so bad?
That's right. It doesn't make. What is he doing on the team? That's the other thing. Like, why is somebody that you have so little? I get he's the third string, but given how injuries work in the NFL, it's like, how do you have somebody you have no confidence in on your staff? Like, how because they don't. They have no confidence in this guy. I'm not saying they should, but then why is he there?
Yeah.
I mean, why is he there?
And yet this line, I mean, it's 9.5. I don't know. I guess the argument for the Giants staying close is that Washington seems to play close games with good teams and close games with bad teams. Maybe
they rise to the level of their opponent.
I mean, they lost to the Bears at home. Like, you don't really know what you're getting out of Washington week to week. And in the same breath, this is going to be my survivor pick because I've used up quite a few other teams. So, Tommy, don't get right this week. Tommy, don't do it.
It's not going to happen.
Don't have a strong opinion. Just move. Okay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to play in the Bay against the Niners, and I have the Niners by 13.
I have the Niners by 7.5. I really like Baker Mayfield.
It's like right in the middle. This is going to be close.
It's like low.
Opened at 11.
11.5. 11.5.
Yeah, we got
11.5.
Mostly 11.5. So I'm off by. Oh yeah, it was close.
It opened. It opened.
Opened more than that. What did I just say? I can't remember what I said.
It opened at 11.
11 and went up. So it was a little bit more in between both our guesses, but okay. Niners by 11.5. Obviously, the Niners came off a bye and they got right against the Jags. I think I predicted that one last week that they would win that game. They obviously won it handily. Now you got the Bucks. Who did the Bucks just beat? The Titans.
Yeah.
So the Bucks are like
middling
4-6, but the Vikings have the last playoff spot right now at 6-4. and they have the tiebreaker over the Vikings. So
Aren't they in the middle? Aren't they the sixth spot right now, the Vikings? Because they were when they were didn't have a winning record, they were in the seventh spot.
possibly, based on tiebreakers and stuff, it could be. You're disappearing. That's a pretty cool disappearing act. Oh, Josh is gone. He's actually. Oh, there he is. Look at the special effect.
No, you're right. So that's right. The Cowboys, the Seahawks, for some reason, are leading the wild card. Cowboys, and then Vikings. You're right. They're in the last spot.
So if you're the Bucks and you have that tiebreaker over the Vikings, who are sitting there at the seventh seed,
Yep.
You know,
right there.
Every organization needs to find motivation or like a reason why. Hey, here's what we need to do to get in the playoffs. So they probably feel like if they can go 5-3, get to 9-8, they're probably in the playoffs. So I think that's what
right.
you're looking at there.
Right.
And the Niners, obviously, they want to win out and try to get the 1 seed in the NFC. I believe they still play the Eagles. I mentioned that before. They have 2 more losses than the Eagles, but if you can beat them head to head and you get one more, you can gain one more game on them, then you're going to have home field on the NFC side. So I don't know what that means for this game. I think it's obviously a fair line. The Niners are still very good, even though they lost 3 in a row.
They look good. I mean,
and the Bucks are. I don't know. Are the Bucks going to fly from Tampa to the Bay and just make this game close?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. It was a little lower than I guessed, so maybe there's something there. Maybe the Bucks cover. I mean, 11.5 can be a lot.
I think this is still Brock Purdy reticence. I mean, he had a good game this past week, but I think he had those 3 stinkers in a row. And given where he came from, I think there's some doubters, but this is still really strong. I mean, the Niners are a good team. They've been a good team since their coach got there. Whatever the hell his name is, Shanahan.
Shania Twain.
And then their GM, who I thought was a joke hire, has been pretty good. John Lynch has been pretty good as the 49ers GM, actually. Certainly better than, well, I guess the guy from Denver won a Super Bowl, but as ex-players go, yeah, he's good. Niners are a good team.
So I just saw something that, people were saying, Purdy's first however many games, he hadn't lost or whatever, and everyone's saying he's this great quarterback. And it was just kind of hard to tell for sure. And then he lost 3 in a row, and now a bunch of people are saying, this guy's terrible. Like,
all of it was
we knew this all along.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's the thing with the 49ers. You're not going to know until Purdy goes to another team or Shanahan goes to another team or they break up all these skill players that they have on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, when you have Purdy and Shanahan and Debo and Ayuk and McCaffrey and Kittle all together, all healthy, I mean,
and a great
how are you going to, all you need with that is a competent quarterback, and he could look good.
Man.
But maybe he is better, more than just a competent quarterback. But he can only do so much. It's just one of those things you don't really know until you take one of the pieces out of the equation, I think.
One of the things that has struck me, and this is why I like Bagent so much, even though it looks like he didn't have the physical tool set, maybe, is the poise. Like, he looks, Purdy looks comfortable there, right? And I know he had some crappy games, but to me that matters a lot, because a lot of the quarterbacks you watch, they're frazzled, they're harried, they don't know what to do even under pressure, and that's not him. Like, whether or not he ends up being an amazing quarterback or not, he has poise in the pocket, and I think that matters a great deal right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm more of the camp that he is legit than he's just a system quarterback, definitely. So
we'll see how poise, man. That, to me, like, you have that you can do some things in the league, right? Not be frightened by receiving that snap. I think he's got it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this right now. I think the Super Bowl is gonna be Niners and Chiefs. And that would be a rematch of the one when when the Niners had them and they
And then they did.
blew it.
So you can say that about the both teams' Chiefs Super Bowls win though, right? Like the Eagles, that game just ended. I still don't understand that Super Bowl. It's like we're watching and there's like 5 minutes on the clock, and then all of a sudden it was just over. The game just ended, and it's like, hey, the Chiefs are Super Bowl champs. And it's like, are we sure?
Yeah.
That's a bold prediction though. Niners over Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Niners were so mad, so upset about the quarterback,
Yeah.
Purdy getting injured and
Yeah.
not having a competent quarterback.
Yeah.
Last year, I just think of those two teams
Rematch.
meet. I don't know.
Do you think would you have said that before the Chase Young acquisition, or do you?
Yeah.
Regardless,
I
now
felt
even
that way, yeah.
because now they've just had one game with that, I think, because they were on the bye when they got him. So I mean that is an interesting thing. That is a dynamic we haven't seen. Both on one end, Young on the other. That could be the difference. I mean, that game when they play Niners Eagles, that's going to be a lot of fun, man. That's a good game.
That's another piece of it that you don't really know what you're going to get. So they play in the lighting's really dark. Huh?
It really is.
You see us.
No.
No one wants to see us.
Oh, there it goes. It fixed itself.
So the Niners and Eagles play in the regular season. So
December 3rd.
Whoever comes out victorious there. Then assuming they play each other in the playoffs, which I think they're going to be the top two teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
Then the whole thing comes down to, a lot of it comes down to coaching, because whoever won the first game, you're going to try to do the same things that got you the win. Whoever lost knows what adjustments they need to make to try to win the game. And so that whole situation is always interesting, how they game plan and what they try to do. So you don't know who's going to win the first one, and then obviously how they adjust off of that. So be the big factor, I guess.
Eagles are 8-1 right now, and I think the Niners are 6-3. Eagles next game before they play the Niners, they have to play the Chiefs and the Bills. Are they still 8-1, or do they still have one loss when they meet the Niners in 2-3 weeks?
No. Well, I think we'll get to this game in a little bit, but I think the Eagles have a decent chance to beat the Chiefs, even though it's at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
And the Bills just aren't. I don't even know if the Bills are good.
That coach getting fired. Sean McDermott's getting fired. He's fired. Oh, fuck yeah, man. They haven't won a Super Bowl, and they haven't made it to the AFC Championship game.
Coach swap, AFC East coach swap, Belichick.
Oh my God.
One defensive mind.
Oh no.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you could say, obviously, a lot of people are going to be picking the Chiefs to beat the Eagles, so that's one loss. And then if the Bills can kind of rebound a little bit, you got Eagles, Bills. I mean, you would, before the year started, you would have said that's a coin flip game, right? Like the Bills should have a very good chance to beat them. So
yes. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then the Eagles go at Cowboys, obviously a tough game, at Seahawks. That's never an easy game. And
then it's pretty easy.
Giants, Cardinals, Giants. So there's a lot.
They may be resting people by then.
Right. There's a lot left to be decided, but
I mean, the reason I asked is because if they lose a game going into that Niners game, then if the Niners win leading up to that point, then the Niners have so much to play for, because then they could beat them and tie their record and get that bye.
Yeah.
So that's going to be huge, depending on could be real huge for the playoffs.
Yeah. We shall see. And I looked at some power rankings, and they have the Eagles as maybe I'm a little off on this. I thought they had them as the 9th best team.
That's ridiculous.
They're obviously 8-1. They have the best record, but there's something about the advanced stats that they're just squeaking out wins, and they're not crushing bad teams all the time, and something about it. But there's something to be said about just beat the team you're playing against. So yeah, go figure. Do you believe in the Eagles that they're as good as their record or not? Anyway, let's move on. We have the Jets at the Bills. I have the Bills by 9.5.
Sorry, I have the Bills by 7.
Bills
Giving
by
7.
7.
Bills by 7.
I think you're closer. Let's see what this is.
No idea.
Open at 8.
7.
Yeah, it's 7. Josh nails it. So it's 6-4 with 3 left. Josh has to run the table. All right, you nailed it. What do you think here?
I mean, just based on what we're talking about, I was gonna say I think the Bills are a better team, but the Bills are, I feel like, a step away from imploding. The Jets have sort of kind of half imploded, and they don't have the answer at quarterback. So I think this is Josh Allen, right? To me, this is they have the better quarterback. He's struggling a bit, and he's become a little turnover prone. The guy can still throw the football, the entirety of the field and hit a receiver. I just think the Bills are a better team, even as the Jets are struggling and kind of surging.
Yeah. So I don't know how you trust either one of these teams in any capacity.
Yeah, right now.
But one thing that's interesting, so are the 2 worst quarterbacks in the league Zach Wilson and Tommy DeVito, like that are currently starting, and they're both on New York teams? I mean, they got to be the 2 hardest to watch. Like,
that's a great question.
Like Zach Wilson, this is maybe a stretch, but this is my analogy for this. So like when you're going through school, right, you can either memorize the answers and hope that the test is what you memorized, or you can understand the concepts and then you can like just answer all the questions because you understand purely the material, right?
Mm-hmm.
Zach Wilson is memorizing the answers. Like he's like, oh, the slant should be open on this play, so I'm just going to fire it in there and hope that it's open based on the coverage they're showing. And he doesn't actually, it seems like he doesn't actually read the coverage.
Can't read the defense. Yep. Yeah.
Like, so,
and the team hates him.
Is that
team hates him?
Sorry. Is that coaching, or is that just his inability? Like, or is that something they should have picked up on and said, he's not going to be able to adjust to this in the NFL? Like, and someone should have seen that. I don't really know what the answer is, but that just seems like what's going on there.
But didn't they know that last year? Because they hated this guy. Like, you remember, like he started struggling early, and he was mouthy, and he was sort of pushing back against the press, pushing back against his team. They don't like him. Right. So why is he like? As soon as Rodgers, they went out and got Rodgers. They replaced him, and then when that failed, they stuck with him. Why? Like the Vikings went out and got Dobbs. Like, why not make a move if you have aspirations, like playoff aspirations? But they did. It's inexplicable to me that they did that, and he's still there.
And I don't pretend to know like contract situations and whatnot, but they had Mike White, last year, and now I saw him on the sideline. He's backing up Stroud, Burrow. I can't. I'm probably wrong, but anyway, he's in a better situation than. Like the Jets should have given him a chance as a backup. Like I think Mike White.
Yeah.
Like he's had a couple games where it's like, holy shit, who the hell is Mike White, and why is he scoring 30 points on this team?
It's really strange.
I think, well, they would agree that would have been a better option at this point too, but it's just got to be so frustrating for their defense when the Raiders were doing absolutely nothing, and still it's like just give up because Wilson couldn't move the ball.
It's the same problem they had last year, though. This is the exact same problem for the exact same reason. And again, I know they went and got Rodgers, but that failed. So you just acquiesce and say, okay, well, they knew what they had a year ago. Really weird.
Well, in this situation, it's not tanking without tanking, but I think the Giants are kind of tanking without tanking.
I think they're getting out of.
we're gonna
Jordan
let
Spout.
Tommy start, and see what he can do. And it's like, we know this guy's shit and we're not gonna win a game, but it looks like we're trying. I don't know.
Well, if they liked Daniel Jones and they thought he was the answer, and I know they just extended him, but I don't think they think he's the real long-term solution in for the Giants.
Right.
I think you're right. There's no urgency to put them in a position to win when they're waiting for. They're ready to move on. The Jets are weird and bad.
Yeah. So this line was opened at 8, and then the Monday night game happened where the Bills lost at home to the Broncos, and then it came down to 7, which is
stupid.
Which is fair.
12 men on the field. How the hell do you do that?
You need a guy behind the line clapping and jumping.
You got to have a cheater, right? Maybe nobody will notice.
I don't know.
Oh my, that was just unbelievable. I was watching the Manning cast, and they were just disgusted. Peyton Manning was disgusted.
Yeah,
disgusted.
That was pretty bad.
It was very bad.
Okay. We got 3 left.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Seahawks at the Rams. I have the Seahawks by 2.
I got them by giving 3.5.
I think I'm closer, but let's see where we're at here. It opened at 2.5.
1.
2.5 down to 1.
Yeah.
So if you remember, Stafford had the ligament issue in his thumb. Then they had the bye. He's projected to play, but I think it's kind of 50-50. I don't know. Maybe some people think he's going to play, and that moved this a little more. I'm not really sure. I think it's fair. We both were around a field goal for the Seahawks. It's 1 point for the Seahawks. The Seahawks are the better team. The Rams, even with Stafford healthy, are kind of dysfunctional a little bit. But it's a home game for the Rams. And if you remember, week 1, the Rams go to Seattle and they took care of the Seahawks. And if you thought you knew how those two teams were going to play the rest of the year based on that, obviously you would have been wrong, because the Seahawks, have won whatever 6 out of 8 after that, and the Rams have been pretty bad. So it's a fair line.
Yep.
If you can trust the Rams, I think they're the right side at home just to win a home game and try to see if they can peel off a couple wins and make a playoff push. But the Seahawks obviously have been more consistent, so don't get crazy with that one. But I think the Rams is the right side there.
You think the Rams are going to win? Just outright, or just?
Well, the spread's 1, so I guess if they tie, then I'm a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Rams win that game.
Okay.
But again, Stafford is 50-50. The Rams signed Carson Wentz as their backup. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. They were circling him for a while.
So obviously a more serviceable backup than Brett Ripien, since he went to Green Bay and was just pathetic. But if Stafford's healthy, I think the Rams have a good chance of winning that game. We'll see.
I like the Seahawks here. The Rams, just is just down here for the Rams. The Seahawks kind of need this game to keep pace, keep the playoff. The wild card has sort of been heating up in the NFC. I don't want to fall behind. And I think Carroll's done a really good job with the Seahawks. I think it's a little underrepresented how good a job he's done there.
Yeah,
they've been great since he's been there for a decade plus.
I think the Rams are getting a little more love than we thought. Maybe because of they're off a bye as well. So gives you extra time to, find a couple extra plays that are going to work against the defense or to stop the other team's offense, and obviously just to get healthier. So that's probably part of it too. Okay, we got the Vikings at the Broncos.
Yeah.
I went Vikings by 2. What do you got?
I got Vikings giving 3.5.
So the Broncos are favored.
What? Only 1, but come on.
It opened Broncos 2.5, and that's what it is. So So when I said earlier, I was off by 5 points, that's about as much as it's going to get. So here, this is 4.5, but I kind of view like that's close to 5, obviously. But
Yeah.
some of these games where it's a field goal either way, like you can be off by a lot if you just thought that the other team would be slightly favored. So I feel
Yeah.
like it's a little bit different than if you're like you guessed 10 and the line was 5 or whatever it is. I feel like it's a little different. But I was off. I thought the Vikings would be
I
favored.
can't believe this. I don't know. This is a dumb line. I know the Broncos won the game, but
Well, they beat the Chiefs. They had the bye, and then
yeah, that's
then
true.
they beat the
They
Bills.
beat the Chiefs.
Their defense is playing way better.
Okay. Yeah.
I said this before. I didn't think Russell Wilson was really playing that bad to start the year.
It looked good. I
He
mean,
looked
that touchdown he threw where he was scrambling around, he just chucked it up and
that was incredible.
it was incredible.
Obviously,
It's
there's a luck
incredible.
factor with that because
But
how could you get it in there perfectly?
I know he just sort of like he was a terrific like when he was in his prime, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, right? I don't know, maybe it is just finally coming around, but this line still really surprises me.
And then does it matter that much whether the Vikings are favored by 2 or the Broncos by 2? It's like
I don't know.
who do you think's going to win? Like both teams are playing well over their last couple games.
Yeah.
Both teams are looking at like the Vikings would be in the playoffs if it ended today. The Broncos have a little more work to do, obviously.
Yep.
But it's kind of similar, like teams that have figured some things out and are just playing better. Could be a pretty good game. You do have the altitude too. I don't know. It seems like is that really a factor anymore? Like, don't NFL teams have ways of mitigating that, like making it not such a big deal?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they do. I mean, but yeah, I don't know how much this factors in. It's not all that huge of a travel too. Like Minnesota to Denver to Colorado. They're relatively close. It's not cross country.
Right.
This is another weird line to me. I don't know. The Vikings just look good. I know the Broncos. You're right. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills.
Yeah, I'm waffling on this one a lot. It seems like the Vikings are just doing the little things right, and they're like,
Yeah.
it feels like they could win a close game here, but
Yeah.
you could say the same thing about the Broncos too. Like, I don't know if Russell Wilson is coming into Peyton's scheme and then the defense is playing way better. I don't know. Basically pick your winner there. I think just because the line skews to the Broncos, I think that might be the right side. But I thought that going against the Vikings the last 2 weeks, and the Vikings took care of business twice. So I don't know.
So the Broncos are 4-5, and almost every team ahead of them is either 4-5, 5-5, or 5-4. So that's the bank. If they win, they're 5-5. Can they make the playoffs? Can the Broncos make the playoffs?
So I think I said this like 3 weeks ago, right before the Chiefs game. I mean, go back and look at the recordings, but I'm like, if you're a Denver fan and you want a reason to be optimistic, you figure maybe you could beat the Chiefs at home and blah blah blah. And I mean, I feel like that's what's happening.
Here's their schedule the rest of the way: Browns, Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. If they can beat the Browns and the Texans, I mean that's the playoffs. Those are two teams like that are right in front of them, right on the cusp of that wild.
Okay, so
it's not
that's actually a really tough schedule, though.
It is a completely tough schedule. The Browns and the Texans are great teams. The Chargers certainly want to be a great team. The Lions are a great team. But if they can win, it's there, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know how they go 5-4 with that schedule. I mean, that's got to be one of the tougher schedules remaining. But yeah, I mean, if you just, if you win a couple that you probably shouldn't win, maybe that's enough.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Patriots and the Chargers games are wins, or excuse me, the Patriots and the Raiders game are a win. They get one of those Chargers games, I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch how they come down the stretch.
Especially the last game is at the Raiders.
Yeah.
So both of those teams are around 500 right now.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if that game is for a playoff spot at that point.
Yeah. I mean, just look at
But look at which teams they have to displace.
yeah, I
The
mean,
Bengals are out on the outside looking in right now. You got to figure they're gonna
yeah,
play better. The Texans feel like they're a playoff team, but and then you got the Browns. Maybe the Browns fall out of it with Watson out, but
I mean, eight through 14 in the AFC, right? These are the teams that are just outside of the playoff picture. They're all 5-4, 5-5, or 4-5. They're all right there. And then the Texans are 5-4. That's a mess, man. That's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Like how the last few playoff spots in the AFC work out, because those teams are all right there, all bunched up together.
yeah, I think the Jets fall out of that for sure.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders do too,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
they've been playing better than I thought they would. I don't know.
The Bills do feel like they want to fall apart.
Right. It's tough to predict.
Yeah. It'd be fascinating to watch how if these teams, all of these teams, stay so closely together or not.
Yeah. Get your popcorn ready. Okay, we got one game left. We're getting a little long on this.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. I know all of our loyal viewers will listen to and watch all 1 hour and 10 minutes of this.
Certainly.
Okay. Last game, and it's a great game. It's the Super Bowl reincarnated. Eagles at the Chiefs.
Yep.
I have the Chiefs by 3.
I have the Chiefs by 1.5. They're giving 1.5.
Well, we'll see. I think it's in between, actually. It was 3 at one point. I thought, okay, it opened at 2.5, and it's mostly 2.5. So I get that one. I win the week. We're both very close. I think the Eagles, after the way the Super Bowl ended, I think the Eagles feel a little bit cheated.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna come into this and be very competitive. I think obviously 2 great teams, could go either way. I just for some reason I think the Eagles are gonna pull this one out, and that's kind of saying a lot going into Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs, but I don't know. Is it really? They're 8-1. They've lost 1 game. Like it's a very I think it's a very fair line.
It is.
I just think that the Eagles got a little extra chip on their shoulder after the Super Bowl, and I think they're going to pull this one out.
Agreed. A few weeks ago you talked about like schedule and who they've played. I do think it's worth noting that those 8-1 victories over the Patriots, the early season Vikings, the Buccaneers, the Commanders, the Rams, lost to the Jets. They did beat the Dolphins, but then the Commanders and then the Cowboys. It's not a murderer's row.
Right.
Like those 8 victories, their best victories are against the Dolphins and the Cowboys. All those other teams are not great. Like there's not great. None of those teams, Patriots, Bucks, Commanders, Rams, those are not playoff teams probably.
And you look, like the one game they lose is to the Jets.
Like, I know, 14. Such a weird. I mean, you have those in the NFL. Even the very best teams are going to have that one stinker, but it's like they've beaten good teams. But I don't know. This will be very interesting to see how they play the Chiefs, because they're clearly the best team that they've played.
Right. Yeah, that'll be a good one. So Monday night, maybe we need to do the Josh and Dana cast.
Woot!
While we watch the game.
Live from Hobnobbers.
I don't know. Don't count on it. Maybe someday.
One day. Yeah.
All right. Week 11 is a wrap. Go Vikings!
Go Bears.